I feel disrespected. I'm feeling trapped. I feel unappreciated. I'm feeling really unsafe right now. I feel totally ignored. I'm feeling judged right now. I felt unloved. I feel rejected. I feel really disconnected right now. You know what all these things have in common? They're not actual feelings. You know what a feeling is? Sad, angry, scared, happy. Those are actually emotions, very specific feelings. There are also other feelings, like tired, hungry, or even just the sense of touch. But wait, I thought I can be disrespected. I am sometimes isolated. It's okay to have the thought that you're disrespected or isolated. But it's not the same thing to say, I feel disrespected and I feel isolated. One is a thought and one is a feeling. Recently I saw a post by the Gottman Institute that showed a list of triggers. In this case, I think the word trigger means to trigger a feeling or an emotion, not like a trigger from PTSD. And I gotta give them credit for trying to show what can trigger emotion. However, there's also a very big mistake in that it confuses thoughts with feelings. Consequently, there's over 250 comments now with people tagging their friends and saying that they identify with these feelings. In this case, these are not feelings. You can't just say any word after the word feel or felt and actually have it be accurate. So, although the graphic was meant well, I think it's better if we state it with emotional intelligence. If we were to state it with emotional intelligence, this is what it would look like. This is part of the foundation of cognitive behavioral therapy. ET-FAR. This is a little mnemonic device that I use to help remember cognitive behavioral therapy. Event leads to thinking, thinking leads to feeling, feeling leads to action, actions yield results. ET as in the extraterrestrial, and when ET went home, it was far, far away. So as you can see, it's really crucial that we don't confuse feelings with thoughts. You can change the way you think, and it will actually change the way you feel. So if you're not happy with the results you're getting in life, generally your thinking is the cause. So all we need to do is healthy, positive self-talk, and it changes the way we think. A different way of speaking to ourselves essentially leads to a different feeling, which leads to a different action, which leads to a different result. Let me give you a quick example. Let's say you're cut off on the freeway. That's the event. The thought might be, who is this guy? Did they not see me? What gives them the right? I'm going to be late. What feeling might come from that self-talk or that thinking will be anger, generally. The anger then leads to a possible action, cussing at them, speeding up to try to catch up, to look at them in the face, or cut them back off, maybe getting into a road rage altercation. The result could be catastrophic, like maybe there's an accident that happens, or maybe the end result could be getting arrested. So the idea of cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is that what happens if you change the way you think? Generally, we can't change our first or second initial thoughts. It's just based on our core beliefs, how we were brought up, our conditioning. But we generally have control over some afterthoughts. So once we start thinking, oh, what a jerk, or this or that, immediately what we can do is start telling ourselves, oh, you know what, I don't know what their situation is. Maybe they're late for work. Maybe they're on their way to the hospital. You know what, maybe there's an emergency. It's not personal. Whatever healthy self-talk we can tell ourselves will yield a different feeling. In this case, the feeling might just be calming down, or a neutral feeling of non-anger. In either case, the result probably will be that you don't get into a road rage altercation, you don't speed up, you don't do something illegal, and you don't get arrested. So this is the idea of cognitive behavioral therapy. We change the way we think, it changes the way we feel. So if we think the thought is the feeling, then we're screwed. There's no way we can use cognitive behavioral therapy. So we have to differentiate between these two things. In any case, the most important thing we recognize is that thoughts are not feelings, and that thoughts do create the condition for feelings to take place. And in having a great conversation, we can change the way we think, and therefore we might start to feel a little differently. But if we say we feel disrespected, then we're not leaving much space for intelligent conversation to take place. We're not allowing for healing to take place. We're not allowing for ourselves to change our perspective, and in so doing, we are actually victimizing ourselves and creating our own problems. If we're trying to have a conversation with a coworker, a loved one, family member without provoking defenses and unwanted emotional responses, then it's really important that we speak in a way that is not going to trigger other people. You might speak in a way that will be perceived as disrespectful, and that person may respond with feeling angry and then speaking in a way that comes from their anger. This may not be what we actually really intended to say. What we really wanted to say was, I feel sad because I perceived this or that. When you say it in that way, people generally go, oh, okay, I don't want that person to feel sad, so maybe I should change the way I think or behave. But if we point a finger and start to accuse people, then we're going to start going down a different path of accusation and blame, and then there's going to be all sorts of things that they're going to be triggered by. This leads into another topic called nonviolent communication, or NVC. To me, at least, can be summarized with 3 words: passive, aggressive, and assertive. Passive is when you're letting other people walk all over your boundaries and you're not sticking up for yourself. Being aggressive means you're walking over other people's boundaries. And assertiveness means we are not walking over other people's boundaries, and we're not letting other people walk over our boundaries. And we're able to communicate what those boundaries are. Now, there's a whole bunch of really cool things we learn in nonviolent communication, like use I statements, don't use the word you. The word should is generally toxic, and we probably shouldn't say you should, because most likely it's going to provoke people's defenses, and it's a form of aggressive speech. It's possible you might have heard of passive-aggressive. Passive-aggressive is when we're letting other people walk all over our boundaries, and we might not even know what our boundaries are, so often that we subtly stuff our emotions of fear, sadness, until we explode with verbal aggression. The cure-all here is to learn how to practice assertive speech. So when we're saying, I'm feeling disrespected, it's kind of basically saying, you're disrespecting me. There's a subtle undertone of aggression. It's a passive-aggressive statement. Usually when you say, I feel disrespected, people are going to get defensive. But that's what happens often, because we're speaking in a way that's aggressive, and we might not even know it. So it's just more accurate to say, I feel really sad because I think I'm being disrespected, right? We gotta be really clear. When we're saying that we feel a certain way, we want to make sure that we're actually identifying a feeling. Why is any of this really important? Number one, with cognitive behavioral therapy, nonviolent communication, and an heightened level of emotional intelligence, we are learning through practicing mindfulness not to use aggressive speech, instead to use assertive speech, set healthy boundaries with ourselves and other people, and communicate effectively so that we can lead towards some reconciliation, love, and happiness, less conflict, less problems. Most of our suffering comes from our thinking, our own thinking, not exterior situations. So if we know how to think differently, then we'll know how to experience our emotions differently, and we'll be able to speak more effectively. So if we want to experience less suffering in ourselves, if we want other people to not be triggered and suffering from what we're saying, and we want to live a happier, more healthy life, then it makes sense to pay more attention to what we're saying. What we say has a lot of power. What we choose to say will become what we believe, not just as an individual, but as a society. And it also creates different ways of having conversations. So hopefully you find that useful, hopefully you'll find that helpful, and hopefully it'll help us to be a little bit more mindful of the way that we're speaking.